are up to par. So I did some additional research comparing the effects of modernization on schools, and I found that in the modernized schools compared to the ones that were outdated, there was a 2 to 9% lower suspension rate. There was about a 2 to 3% higher attendance rate at the middle and high school level. There was around a 5% increase in the standardized test scores, and this led to the teachers and the students in the modernized schools being more likely to express positive attitudes about their classrooms. So there's clearly a lot of benefits to be had from modernizing schools, and our plan definitely capitalizes on these benefits. So in our plan, there's going to be improved ventilation in the schools. So currently, right now, it's easy for illnesses to get around the school because of congestion, but with better ventilation, students will be able to attend more and not have as many health complaints. Another point, individuals tend to associate various feelings with different settings, so the aesthetic improvements to the facade of the building will generate positive attitudes amongst teachers and students. This is nothing unique to schools. You can see it in real estate. A house that looks nicer is going to be worth more because people want to live in a house that looks nicer, just like on how students want to be in a school that looks nicer. Another point, this one here is very relevant in the middle of January, proper temperature control. Right now, there's many classrooms where it's very hot and money's being wasted pouring into these rooms to overheat them. And then there's other wings of the school that are cold. And this can also be seen in closer to the summer where the whole school really is overheated. And this makes it uncomfortable. So with proper temperature control, students will have their stress reduced and will be able to perform better in the classroom. Another point, the improved lighting and acoustics will allow for the students to be more focused. Also in our plan, we're removing the tunnel. This is a huge security benefit, and this will also serve to increase the instructional time that's available to students. Right now, several minutes are wasted every day as students travel back and forth across the street. And you think there's 180 days in the school year, so this amount of wasted time adds up. So by removing the tunnel and having a more consolidated building structure, we're going to allow for students to have less dead time. It's also been found that in schools with better security, that there's actually improved discipline. So by having better security and safety measures, it'll put students and of course their parents at ease, and it'll also help to improve the discipline of students at the school. And this final point is a very important one to me as a student at the school. It's the science labs. With our plan, we definitely want to make the science labs something that will get students engaged in science. Science is a subject where a lot of the new jobs are emerging every day. And we want to get students interested in this at a very young age. But right now, our middle school science classrooms don't allow for hands-on experiments. And at the high school, while there are some experiments in like chemistry, the space is confined, and it's after the experiments are done, the smell of the chemicals that are just burnt linger in the rooms. So with proper ventilation and with proper equipment, we can have better labs, and this will, of course, improve education. So, I mean, with those last two slides, it makes it sound like I'm painting Wheeler out to be a bad school when it's definitely not. We actually have a lot of benefits from maintaining our small school here at Wheeler, and I'd like to at least talk about that. Our committee has decided that we didn't really want to look at regionalization. However, even with the current state of our facilities, we are able to offer a lot and compete with other schools. So right now, the schools, they provide a collective identity in our small town, which is definitely a plus. It's also been found in research, and for some of these I've been able to see through personal observation, that there's greater student involvement in extracurricular activities from being at a small school. There's higher graduation rates. The environment's safer for students. There are fewer discipline problems. Provides a more positive and challenging environment. And there's a greater family, student, and teacher satisfaction. In the 22 studies that examined academic achievement by school size, not a single one found larger schools to be more conducive to learning, while over 30% found smaller schools to actually provide a better learning environment for students. So with all this being said, from a student's perspective, this plan that we're proposing definitely makes sense. It's hitting two birds with one stone. We're ensuring that our buildings continue to be accredited for the next 20 years so that we can continue to provide all of these advantages up here. And going forward, we'll be able to offer an even better education to students going forward. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Mike Anderson to present the economic benefits of the project.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me fine? Okay. Again, I'm Mike Anderson. I'm on the committee as well, and thank you very much, Tyler. I grew up in Voluntown, about probably a half mile from the North Stonington border, and even as a kid, something gave me the sense that that this town was where intelligence was fostered. It was palpable here. Whether it related to farming, being environmentally on the forefront, living an outdoor lifestyle, civic pride. I could sense it in the town of North Stonington growing up in Voluntown. North Stonington was a community that was ahead of the curve. And to me, it revolved around the education and it revolved around the schools. This community, through decades of hard work and the shared belief in the value of education, this community of parents, of teachers, administration, and elected officials have fostered a recipe for success, all in spite of the deteriorating facilities. I would argue that Tyler's point that we cannot expect such a high level of academic achievement to continue without providing the requisite necessary facilities, that can't be stressed enough. It's not going to be sustained, and everything that goes along with having these high quality schools can affect us economically. Our town needs to do this, and our town will thrive by doing this. Why? People want to be in towns with high performing schools. Simple as that. And businesses want to be where those people want to be. Just briefly, there have been editorials in the local papers about regionalization. Tyler just touched upon it. This is not a new phenomenon. Small towns have been closing their schools for decades due to economic factors and to save money. And I don't want to get into this debate too deeply because we've gone down this road before, and our citizens and our elected officials determined to educate our kids here. And that's what we're here to do. But there's research that shows that this is actually the right move. You can go to the next slide. Since 1970, again, the overwhelming consensus among educational researchers is that the advantages of consolidation on academic performance and achievement are generally outweighed by the disadvantages. All else held equal, small schools have evident advantages for achievement. I love this stat. Over 20 years ago, Alan Peshkin did a study and showed how vital a school is to the survival of rural communities. They serve as the symbol of community autonomy, vitality, integration, personal control. We all know that you go somewhere else, our Board of Education has no control over what happens in those schools. Viable villages can generally contain schools. Dying and dead ones either lack them or do not have them for long. Capacity to maintain a school is a continuing indicator of a community's well-being. Thomas Lyson did research in New York looking at towns that didn't have schools versus towns that had schools. And even larger rural communities, schools ranked higher than communities without schools. The communities themselves did better if they had a school in a town. Uh, those schools with towns had better infrastructure within the communities. Uh, the occupational structure, they had more people employed in civic occupations. The average household income wasn't markedly different, but the places with schools had less income inequality and less welfare dependence when they had schools in the towns. The towns economically did better. We'll go to slide 3. Next slide. The question is, will people want to live here? Is our town attractive to those searching for a home? National Association of Realtors, they recognize that public school facilities play a key role in community economic revitalization. Poorly maintained, overcrowded facilities contribute to neighborhood decline, while newer, well-maintained facilities help revitalize neighborhoods. They looked at a number of different areas where schools were brought into declining neighborhoods, and it revitalized the whole neighborhood. It brought a new vitality. You look at any real estate brokerage site, invariably they list, hey, what schools are in this location where you're trying to buy a house. Some sites like Zillow, not only will they list the schools, but they actually look at the scores within the town, and the Connecticut Mastery Test scores for elementary and high school, and they rank. They have rankings there. Our elementary school on Zillow is given an 8 out of 10. Our middle and high schools come in lower at 6 out of 10. I think that has something to do with the facilities here. Just so I did a comparison, just so I know probably the questions will be asked. NFA was 4 out of 10 on Zillow. Ledyard 7 out of 10 at all levels. In Stonington, Dean's Mill 8 out of 10. Middle and high school were at 7 out of 10. There you go. Research is clear that the quality of the public schools affect property values. It's indisputable. Holding all else constant, homes in high-performing school districts sell for higher prices than homes in low-performing school districts. People are more willing to live in a neighborhood with good schools, even if it means paying higher taxes. And there was some study that showed the impact increased home values by as much as 14%. Those are these old studies. I looked at a study done by some Yale researchers, and it was a 2011 paper. They looked at a 15-year construction project in the New Haven area. I thought it was perfect because it's here in Connecticut. It looked at 42 projects were planned. It's a $1.4 billion project starting in 1998. By 2010, 12 schools were rebuilt, 18 were renovated. That included 5 high schools and 25 elementary and middle schools at a mean cost of $33 to $38 million per project. And they found that school construction had a significant and large effect on home prices. They were, as these projects came online and constructed, they were looking at what happened with the home prices in those areas, because it was a larger part of New Haven County. 11.1% increase in home values. They did a study at what that meant for real estate taxes in real estate revenues, tax revenues in the New Haven area. Basically, take the whole value of real estate property, multiply it by the mill rate, which in New Haven County is 40-something percent, I mean 0.046, where ours is 26.1 mils, and multiply it by 0.11. That would total of $25 million in additional tax revenue for the New Haven. And he said, the researchers said, if you wait 10 years not doing the project, sitting, just waiting, $250 million you just lost in tax revenue. And it was 1/5 of the price of the whole project. So it got me thinking, let me see what happened with us. So I looked at our grand list just for the real estate. It's 456 million and change. Multiply that by our tax rate by 0.11, additional $1.3 million in tax revenue a year if we had an 11% increase. So if we fail to pass this project, go another 10 years, it's $13 million in lost revenue. You know, present day value probably $11 million. $13 million that's over half of the cost of this project for the town. Go to the next slide. Will businesses want to locate here? You know, the evidence shows businesses are seeking an existing educated workforce. Proof is in the pudding. We're producing educated kids here, or increasing the ability to draw such a workforce to their chosen location. So schools play an important role both in finding and attracting qualified workers. You know, obviously, the need for businesses to draw from existing educated workforce presumes the need for quality local schools. It all presumes that the continued of high success for our school and our educated kids is going to continue. We all know, you know, if we do not fix these schools, something might happen with our accreditation. You know, they can't continue on. It's going to keep affecting us, our kids, in a negative way. In conclusion, our schools, and all of our schools, are the foundation of the community. We are here because a crucial element of that foundation is crumbling. We need to fix that foundation so that we can give our kids a chance to do even better. And we give this town a major tool with which to economically thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Tyler. You know, clearly what our committee wanted to try to do was take a look at what are the other things that I don't think we really talked about the last couple of times that we went down this road. It's been a long road to get here, but clearly there's facilities will affect academic outcomes. I mean, there's no question about it. And will we see some sort of economic thrive? Will we see increased property values? Yes, this is what the studies show us. So there's other reasons besides the actual cost, which is right here. You know, we need to look at the big picture, and that's what we need to do as a town. We need to look at the big picture. So just to kind of bring you up to speed on this, on the cost and the scope of this project, I went over the details of what the project entails. We address all the issues. We address all the necessary issues. This project is what we would consider a minimalistic project. It doesn't build too big. It builds for what we need, and it fixes the basic issues that our schools have in the smartest way that we could come up with as a group. And it wasn't just us over the last few months. We had an ad hoc committee before us that did a lot of the work that made our job a lot easier. So a lot of work has gone into this. As you can see here, the total cost to North Stonington after reimbursements, we're looking at $21.21 million. Last time I came to you, it was $21.47 million. We've actually been able to, through some analyzing of the hazmat remediation, that cost has come down a little bit because we realized some of it's going to cost a little bit less than we thought. Now, that being said, we are still trying to drive that cost down, and we have, again, ideas of what we can do to do that. But the main thing to understand, and I want to really bring this point home, this is the project that the committee unanimously voted to bring forward because we think it's the right project for the town. And everybody that's on our committee wasn't for the project last time. We have a very diverse group that's involved in our committee, so we're proud of what we've put forward here. The project rationale. So one of the things we thought of is, one of the things we want to talk about is, you know, we're doing a minimalistic project. Why can't we do a bigger project? Other towns are doing bigger projects. Why can't we? I mean, some people are questioning that. Why can't we do more? Why can't we have a bigger addition on the elementary school? And I just want, we just want to kind of look back on things and understand we have a small population, as we know. We're 128th out of 169 towns in the state population-wise. Most of our taxes come from individuals, not businesses or other entities. Approximately 95% of our town's grand list is paid by individuals. It means that we have a much higher impact on individuals than in other communities. So we can't afford as individuals to do a larger scale project. I mean, we're pushing the envelope here. We know that. We know that. I'm a volunteer. I live here. I don't want to see my taxes go up at all. No one does. We understand that. But, that being said, the project we're proposing now, and we really feel we're going to get this down, but it's an 11% tax increase approximately. That's a substantial tax increase. We understand that. We haven't done much for our schools over the last 20 years. So unfortunately, we have to invest. It's our time to pay. That's what it comes down to. We have to do this. So that's why, that's why we're not proposing a bigger project, because it's already pricey enough. And we want to bring that cost down. So I wanted to just, we wanted to touch on the fact the committee did a little research on towns similarly populated to North Stonington. And believe it or not, and there's 14 towns here that have similar populations between 4,500 and 6,500 residents. And North Stonington is fourth from the bottom in our mill rate. I think people around North Stonington, and I'm not a lifelong resident like some of you. I just moved here, 5.5 years ago. But I do think there's a stigma that our taxes are really high here. And I understand they are. It's always hard. It's always hard. But when you see that we're fourth from the bottom of similarly populated communities, I'm not sure that our taxes are as high as we think they are. So here are some things we looked at, just to bring you up to speed. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but just so you know, the committee we went through everything. We looked at every option. How can we do this project so it makes the most sense for the town, so it doesn't cost a lot of money, basically? One of the options we looked at was switching the schools. Maybe if we switched the schools, we'd be able to fit the kids better and do the work in a proper time frame, and everything would work out. What we ended up, it doesn't fix the issues that we need to fix here. And we'd have to put on a 7,500 square foot addition. Our reimbursement rate would decrease. Construction phasing would be a nightmare, basically. To try to phase this project with the kids, it didn't make any sense. The time frame for this to happen, I think we were talking about maybe 45 months or something like that. And so there were a lot of reasons this approach didn't make sense. And probably one of the most important is it was going to cost more. It would cost more than the approach that we've gone to here. So that was one thing we looked at. Another thing we looked at was, okay, let's just do what we absolutely need to do. Let's not do it as a project. Let's just touch the things we have to do. And I think everyone would agree these are things that we have to do. They're not things that we would like to do. They're things that we must do to continue to have facilities that are appropriate for our kids to go to school here. Fix the hazmat remediation in the schools, indoor air quality. We obviously have to fix the roofs, fire suppression, sprinklers, they're not sprinkled. Security, obviously huge. ADA deficiencies, we have some big problems with ADA right now. If you're a handicapped student, you are actually if you have to go to gym, you have to be bused across the street. You can't actually get there. I mean, you can't cross Route 2, and there's other things in the school that are issues there. It was identified by the tri-board, the science labs, and I think Tyler brought that point home. We feel like that's a must-do. We cannot teach certain things to our kids because we don't have the facilities. There'd be no site work and there'd be no additions, but to do it this way costs us $27.9 million. We're proposing a project that costs $20 million. So clearly what we're doing is not only just fixing the bare necessities. I mean, we're doing all that too, but we're going to provide a state-of-the-art facility for our kids. So we looked at it from all angles. We all want lower taxes on our committee. And I'll tell you, when we went into this thing, I tried to say it at the beginning, we had the approach, we need to drive the cost down. That's why we could make the assumption that it failed last time because it was too expensive. That's the assumption we made. As we got into it, we started looking at what needs to be done. This is what needs to be done. And when you address what needs to be done, the best way to go about getting those things done is by doing it as a building project where you can get half the cost from the state and really get the facilities that our teachers and our students deserve. So, you know, the rationale, why, if it's, I kind of touched on some of this just now, but if it's such a financial burden, why are we proposing it? And I just said it, the reimbursement, we don't have to foot the whole bill. It's a sizable tax increase, but from the town's perspective, we currently have very little debt on our books. We're in a very good position as a town to borrow money right now. And obviously we have some things coming down the pike, but even still, we're in a great position to borrow the money. Interest rates are still historically low. It couldn't be a better time to borrow money to do this project. As I just said, we have all these fixes that have to be done. I just outlined them for everyone here, and I think you would come to the same conclusion that our committee did. None of them are choices. We must fix them. So in order to fix them, it doesn't make sense to piecemeal it because it costs us $8 million more. So, and the last point here is, you know, we feel like the project of this size and scope, we will continue to retain and attract families to North Stonington, promote economic development, grow property values, and most importantly, provide the faculty with the necessary facilities and tools that enable them to deliver a state-of-the-art education and prepare the children in North Stonington to compete and succeed at a global level. You know, we're looking at the big picture here as a committee. We have to look at the big picture as a community. We're smarter than we've been in North Stonington. I'm here. I see the people that work hard in this community. We're smarter than that. We need to show that we're smarter than that. Okay, that's what we need to do. So, again, the benefits here, I'll just outline them one more time. We've got the buildings consolidated at the same side of the road. All the health, ADA, safety, fire, acoustics, lighting, air quality, everything gets updated with this project. Hazmat remediated. Green buildings is something we're really looking into as a committee. These buildings will be green. They'll be eco-friendly. That's important to our committee. We talk about it at every meeting. And that's something we'll drive home as we continue the process here. New science labs, and obviously all the educational needs are addressed. So that's at the middle high school. North Stonington Elementary, we've got the main office back at the front of the building where it belongs. Again, health, safety, fire, acoustics, lighting, air quality, all updated. Hazmat remediated, has to be done. Energy efficiency optimized. Central kitchen and dedicated cafeteria multi-purpose room. We can have gym and lunch at the same time. We can have band practice when the kids aren't eating lunch. Go over there sometime. I mean, my kids are at that school, and they want them to be quiet, but you got band going in the background. I mean, this is the things we're dealing with. And by the way, I was at a basketball game just last week, and I watched a kid go down on the floor and split his lip open because of the floors we have over there. They're not safe for kids to be practicing on. I witnessed it myself, and it happens all the time. These are the things that, you know, we need to fix. So what I would like to leave on is an ask to the tri-board, and that is, you know, we as a committee have worked hard. We feel like we're at the point where we'd like to see we'd like to go to some public hearings with this and get more feedback from the town. And we've kind of picked out some tentative dates of February 8th and February 13th. One's a Monday night, one's a Saturday. I know, Sean, you like the idea of a Saturday at the last Selectmen meeting I went to, and we agree that that's a great idea to have people be able to come on either a Monday night or a Saturday to share their feedback with us. And again, this is a hearing. We want more feedback from the public. That's what we want. So with that being said, I would open it up for questions and comments, and yes.
Can you reiterate a couple of things, the time frame on this project, and also the fact that if we do not get approved for reimbursement, the town is not on the hook for the entire cost of the project.
Those are great points. And just so you know, we are recording it. So if there's any way to grab a microphone a little closer when you speak, that's great, so we can have it. But so yes, we are not. Once we apply for reimbursement, Rusty could speak on this, but there's been when you're getting reimbursement from the state, you're not guaranteed the funds, but you're virtually guaranteed. He's had no projects in all the time he's been doing it, and that's a long time, that have ever not gotten their reimbursement from the state. It's something that comes up. People are concerned because you're relying on the state, but we will get the money. And if we didn't get the money for some reason, we do not have to do the project. So that should not be a hindrance. The time frame on the project, because of the way we're proposing this project to happen, because it's a new addition for the middle high school, and we're going to be able to bid this project to one contractor because they can work on both, we're talking about an 18 to 24 month turnaround in this. That's really reasonable. And the greatest thing about it is there's no problems with any sort of transition with the kids here, because what'll happen is the school gets built, the kids move over. There's no like moving kids to different classrooms on this side of the road. Now the elementary school will have to work a little bit with that, but what we would end up doing if this is approved is we would start in the summer of 2017, and we'd get a lot done in the summer of 2017. And then, we'd have obviously probably some more work to do at the elementary school, but we'd get a bulk of it done in that time. So this project makes a lot of sense for that reason as well, just the phasing of it for the kids. Very little disruption from a class perspective. Chris.
Michael, when you came to the Board of Finance last week, I asked a couple of questions that I wasn't versed on, and I did get a chance to read it. And it does look as if there's a lot of energy put into it. But you said to me in the board that you worked, the ad hoc committee was commissioned by the Selectmen. And I had asked you if you had taken what direction you had received from the Board of Selectmen. You said not much, but you guys ran on your own. And then when you started this presentation tonight, you started talking several times in the direction of the tri-board. And from what I understand, the tri-board is just three boards getting together, being formed at one time. That your direction still comes from the Board of Selectmen. Is that correct?
I think we are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, so that's correct. I think the direction we got was from the tri-board, but I mean, I guess that's probably even better since it's more minds getting together. My understanding was the tri-boards worked together for the last year very hard to try to come to a consensus on the issues that they felt were the most glaring needs. And so that's kind of where our committee picked up was, here's, basically your directive from the tri-board, appointed by the selectmen, and by the way, the selectmen did a great job of appointing what I feel is really a fantastic committee who's worked really hard on this.
So, continuing with my statement, in that meeting that you were there, I made a point, and I wanted to talk about the pink elephant in the room. And I'm going to make that statement tonight. And we've done down the road before. I'm for a building project. I've got 3 children in this school district. I would like to see all 3 of my children graduate from the school district. I can afford the tax increase in this town. However, being a steward of the town's money, I have to be cognizant of the fact that every time we move forward with a large number of projects, cost projects, we seem to fail because of cost. Not because of desire, not because of interest, not because of need. It becomes a financial issue. And if you have $10 in your wallet, you can't buy the $25 steak. And I guess that's the easiest way to look at it. And I know that I had asked you, what if we said to the ad hoc committee, here's $10 million, what can you do? And I understand the whole concept of phase construction. It is an everyday existence in my life. So all that being said, I still, and I did hear some of the language about cost and comparative costs, so on and so forth. But we're gonna ask that this is a decision made by the members of the community. And there's, as we've learned, there's a large member of this community, large volume membership of this community that lives on that fixed income. And it doesn't matter if you build a brand new school or a brand new super Walmart or whatever it is, their property value will not go up to the point where they see an increase in their fixed income. It's like stocks. You only gain money when you sell them. As long as you sit and hold them, they have the value that you have vested into. So if you have a building project that is, for argument's sake, $39 million, and it doesn't pass because that large portion of the community can't find the wherewithal to spend the money or seek by voting yes an increase in their own expenditures, what's the alternative?
Thank you for your comments, and I appreciate you coming to the meeting tonight, Chris, to kind of get up to speed on it. And, hopefully we can bring this information to all the boards. I know it's hard for everybody to get to all these meetings. I think one of your board members probably said it best last time, and that was, people may leave because the taxes go up and we fix the schools. They may leave if we don't fix the schools. I mean, you're going to have people leaving because something's not getting done. So I think we as a committee, I can safely say we as a committee did not spend any time analyzing who would vote for this and who wouldn't vote for this. That wasn't,
the question.
yeah.
The question was, what is the plan if there's a no vote to spend the money? What is the plan? Because we have a plan to spend the money.
Yeah.
But if the community says that's just too much for us,
Yeah.
and they say no, what is the plan?
Well, I think that once the community sees the presentation, they're going to vote for it. But if for some reason that didn't happen, I think that we've made it pretty clear, and our committee has certainly all unanimously decided you cannot look at any of those issues and say, all right, we just won't fix this. It's not an option. So what is the plan? The plan would be that I'd be talking to the Board of Education about what is the plan, because we're going to have to make some choices as a community. I think what we tried to outline tonight, I'm not sure that the point was fully absorbed maybe, but not only will this plan benefit the schools and benefit our kids and benefit us, our community as a whole, and really keep our community as a community, but there are residual things that are going to happen, like economic development, increased housing values. We did a lot of research on this stuff. This isn't just, we're not just pulling pie out of the sky here. This is true. This is reality. So, we also will, realize some of that stuff. So, if you gave our committee $10 million to fix the schools, Chris, we wouldn't be able to do it. It doesn't cost $10 million to fix the schools. And the thing is, let me just finish this real quick, Chris. The thing is, I want to bring home too, last time around when we did this project, we came to the table with a cost that was, I think, about $4 million more than this. And we were told last time around, I was just a citizen, I wasn't on any committees last time, just trying to make phone calls and get people out to vote. That's what I was doing last time. But I was told last time, you wait a year, it's going to go up 10%. You wait another year, it's going to go up 10%. That's how much it's going to increase by not doing anything. So as a committee, I would suggest, based on what we're saying, first of all, I'm proud that we were able to come back with a number that's less than last time and do everything. And second of all, I think we'd be gambling as a community by not doing something right now, because interest rates are historically low. We've got a number that makes sense for our town and addresses all the needs with half the cost nearly being reimbursed by the state. And a $20 million project, not a $39 million project, a $20 million project is what we're looking at here.
Let me make this a little easier. I'm going to vote yes. Okay, let me just start it down. I'm going to vote yes.
As a board member?
Well,
as on the finance board, I just want to clarify.
I'm going to vote. So if somebody's sick.
You'll vote yes.
Yeah, and I'm going to vote yes.
I just want to make sure.
As it goes to referendum, I'm going to vote yes.
Thank you.
I want my kids to get the best education, but we're still not addressing stuff. And the fact of the matter is, the people that aren't in this room are the people that are going to vote. The people that vote historically don't want to spend the money.
So we're not.
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
You say it's not a $39 million project. You're saying it's a $20 million project.
It's a $21.47 million project that we as a committee are committed to bringing the cost down more. However, I don't want to hold that up. I want to move this forward and watch us continue to work hard on it. But if it ends up being $21.47 million, it's our time to pay.
Right. Okay. And my statement is this, and the statement is pretty simple and doesn't really need to be danced around.
Yeah.
Because if the town goes to referendum and the town votes it down, what is the plan?
That was not
Wait a minute.
Adhoc's
We don't have, we don't
charge
have
come up with
backup
the secondary plan?
So, because if we sat here and gave you the backup, then I would say this is the backup.
And Adhoc was not charged with the backup plan, they were charged with the building project. So the
Nick.
backup plan will
Okay.
go back to square one.
Let me answer the question, okay? What are you doing? You're going through due process chartered by an ordinance that was requested by the Board of Education and empowered by a town meeting to go study the issue. We went through 2 referendums. In those referendums, what we did was lesson learned. What were the questions asked that weren't answered? This proposal answers those questions. What is the most cost-effective thing for the town? And this isn't on a short term, this is for a long term. Over the last 20 years, we've gone through status quo, taxes have gone up, very little growth, and there's been a lot of influences on that, such as the economy, 2008, financial issues, and so forth. I think you have answered the question that to move the town forward, to ensure that growth will continue, that we will attract not only younger people, because right now we're attracting an aging community, okay? And you have provided the information necessary that answers the question as to why we should do this. Okay. As we look at that, the seniors, yes, and those on fixed income are going to have a difficult time. But the outlook for them is better in the future because we're going to increase the services, we're going to attract growth. We know people are looking at us because we have some things happening, Fisher Control, the warehouse down there, and other things. This is going through the process. We're starting to have the hearings on it. Then we'll start going to the selectmen, okay, set up a schedule. Then we're going to go to the Board of Finance and we're going to say, here's what we want to do and why. You've got Plan B. It's up there. It's a piecemeal basis. It's not cost effective. It's almost as expensive and nowhere near the outcome.
It's more expensive. Yes, Sean.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, we're at a stage where we've made lessons learned from the previous 2 referendums. All of the questions about economic development, growth, future outlook, and so forth, and why is this the best option? If we then slice and dice, we're going to leave something shorted. It's not going to be as effective. Now, I'm going to use an example, and I apologize for this before I do it. You had a young gentleman, Tyler, stand up and give a presentation. He came to the town, he said he'd like to be mentored, and I want to get involved. He volunteered for the committee. He's been involved. He made a presentation. He's not a kid. He's not a child. What he is a young adult. He's the type of product that we want to turn loose to secondary education and that he can contribute to the world, hopefully come back to North Stonington, stay here, and contribute and be one of our residents. These are students that are going out into a world that I would hate to enter into today. This is the solution for them. It's the solution for the town. And actually, it's going to help the seniors. It's going to help the people that can't afford because it's going to make it better. So I think it's all here. I think what we've got to do is make sure everybody understands all the parts. In the last 2 meetings, you have put an awful lot of information forward, and it is not information that is unopinionated. It's based on facts, statistics, and rationale. So I really think that all the things that people are asking about, we have to make sure they understand all the different parts of it as to why I'm not sure there's any good plan B. And I have to admit, I was a skeptic in the first two. We had an awful lot come to us in a very short period of time, and there was a bunch of questions that weren't answered. I think they're all answered now. What we've got to do is just sink it into the people.
Sean?
I think the tri-board needs to have a little bit more conversation about the remaining high school building. I don't think, I know there's possibilities for filling the building and having a tenant renovate the building. But I look around southeastern Connecticut and count a great number of empty school buildings. And I don't think we can count on, at this point, our high school building being occupied and maintained by someone else. I think at the very least that we need to consider if it's going to sit empty for a period of time, and also that the Board of Ed is going to be in this building, I think we should consider including roofs in this project, the cost of the roofs for the high school building, so that we don't allow our empty building to deteriorate to the point where we can't do anything with it in the future. And I think that we should also include, or count on including, in our operating budget, not next year, but it would be the following, it would be the out years. We have to take into consideration that our operating budgets are going to go up accordingly. We got sprinkler systems, heating and air conditioning systems. We got a number of things that have to be maintained, just as now the school has a budget to maintain this building and provide regular maintenance. We're going to have that same need. We can't just board up the building, allow the roofs to start leaking and take over. We don't want this to look like another Gary's restaurant. Of course, we need to, every effort to get it occupied, because it doesn't do any good to us empty, but we have to maintain it. We need to keep the water out, and that's the very least that we have to do. And I think we should talk about including that, regardless if we like it or not. I think we should consider including that as part of this project. I believe the roof on this building has expired. It's beyond its warranty period at this time.
One thing, Sean, just 2 points to your comment. We did have a meeting today, and I think there's going to be interest, but to your point, it's not guaranteed. We are budgeting $800,000 to tear down that middle school wing. I mean, if we decided as a group that we wanted to not tear it down because we think there's an option for use there, that money could be possibly used for, we understand as a committee that we don't want empty buildings sitting here, so we can certainly talk more. And I think before we got it to some sort of, referendum, I think we want to have that figured out. So it's a point well taken. Peter?
Rusty, if this is solely used for the Board of Ed building, it would be, unless we rent it out, but still not part of the school. Can the cost of a new roof be part of that project if it's only used for the Board of Ed?
The cost of a new roof can be part of the project, but it would be part of a project for the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
And the reimbursement rate for the Board of Ed is 50% of that one. So it would be roughly 23% of that reimbursement.
So just so I can repeat that, you didn't hear, Peter was asking if the cost would be like reimbursable, and if we ended up, because of this building, it would be at a lesser reimbursement rate to do work like that on the roof. What, half of the 46%? So the reimbursement rate would be less. Certainly something we can consider. I mean, what we're talking about is probably driving the cost up, but I mean, we have to think big picture here, and that's what we've tried to do in a conservative manner as a committee. Bob?
Sean just brought up moving forward some of the costs to incur
maintaining the buildings once they've been built. But we also have to factor in the savings we're gonna have. When I look at the Board of Ed's budget, all the money we lose through, air infiltration, faulty windows, energy cost, it's gonna be quite a bit of savings moving forward with the new improved buildings, which will help offset any increased expenses to maintain this building.
I mean, we hope and we envision that we're going to, and the feedback I got today made me feel very positive that we have suitors that would be interested in potentially leasing these spaces, which is going to be revenue for the town. And you're absolutely right, Bob. When we do this new project, our eye is on an eco-friendly green project. We want to be the example. People move to North Stonington. It's a rural community. They care. Most people here care about the environment. They care about their surroundings. We're a farming community. We want to show that in our buildings. I mean, that's really important to our committee, and we want to really show that when we build this new facility that we care about the environment and we want to be an example. We want to be leaders, and the committee's committed to that. So, it will be energy efficient. We will show a lot of savings. I mean, this place is just leaking like a sieve when it comes to any sort of energy. So, Tim?
Just to be clear, Mike, there's going to be nothing done with like the ball field over there or soccer fields or anything like that.
Yeah, so last meeting, actually, it came up that the additional parking that we put kind of next to the building, Wayne had made the comment he was afraid we were encroaching on the field. You can't see it here. What we did was we minimized this parking over here, so it really won't encroach on the fields whatsoever. We actually have expanded parking over here, where we can put some cars as well, quite a few cars actually. I think the lot over here is very similar in size to what this lot was or would have been. So to answer your question, there shouldn't be any problem with that.
I just wanted to add one point, and that's with the school modernization project and the emergency services building. Should both of those projects be approved, we're basically maxing out our borrowing ability. So to not include the roof project and try to do it later and get financing for it, it may not be as at the same rate. We'd be paying a premium possibly because of we've getting towards the maximum the maximum level of our borrowing power. So, and I think to do it at the same, as Rusty was saying, to do it at the same time as a school project and have reimbursement, at least for a portion of the building or whatever they would consider might be appropriate. I just think we need to, we need to have that conversation and decide, if we want to, which way we want to move forward.
I mean, we're meeting Monday night, and I'm sure it will be on our committee's agenda to talk about, Sean, and it makes complete sense to me, but certainly Wayne with the rest of the committee. I do want to just make sure I mention, again, we really think we can drive the cost of this project down. That's where it is right now, this $20 million, but we think we can drive it down. We are we have somebody coming in, like I said, to talk about alternative construction methods Monday night. We think there's some things we can do that are really going to drive the cost of this project down. We just don't have enough information on it yet. But that being said, we're still ready to go to hearings. We know this is the project for the town. We know this is the project for the town. There's no question about that. It's just, can we drive the cost down? And if the cost is better when we go to hearings, well, that's great. But I think right now it is what it is, and we can get better from there. Emil.
Just a question for Sean. Where are you getting this maximum figure from?
Just from what I've heard before.
Okay, so it's not based on anything, it's just what you heard. Okay.
I wonder if I can offer some thoughts.
Are we ready for, Mark, are we ready for public? Or? Bless you.
Excuse me.
Well, I just have a question maybe Neil can answer. If both of these projects, the firehouse and this, were to go at the same time, what would that do to the building?
We don't quite know because we received some figures from Robin that had two different interest rates going on for the amortization. We also don't know the length of it and such, so I wouldn't want to throw out a figure at this point. I think the board, if there are the Board of Finance members here, I think they'll agree with me. It's a little too early to do anything but estimate, and we don't even have a good estimation because our latest figures didn't, as I said, two separate interest rates for it. Made no sense.
If I can clarify something that on Emil, I believe the interest rate previously for the USDA loan was higher than we could get now. The interest rate that we could get now for the USDA loan for the emergency services building is 3.125, and that's why you might have seen different numbers.
Well, yes, I guess that was the reason, but the point is, if we can get a lower rate, we can get on the school, we can get a lower rate on the building. And so and if we can't, then we can't get it on either. So the two percentages should harmonize. They shouldn't be two. We're not going to, at the same time, take a loan for 3.3 for the EMS and 3.2 for the school. We'll get them all for 3.2. Yeah. So I'm saying they should be the same. So we don't have a number there. You see, we got to work out the figure.
Obviously, there's still details to be worked out, but I think we're getting closer on it, and certainly as committees, you'll individually. Any other comments or questions from the committee before I open it up to the floor? Okay, Jason, you had a comment?
Here or there.
No, you can comment from there. It's fine.
My name is Jason Mancini. I'm the director of the Adhoc Museum. I'm also a resident of town. I have two daughters who go to school. I've listened intently. I'm new to this conversation. I've heard a lot of things that have resonated with me. They said it was the most cost-effective plan. Mike asked, what are we not thinking about? Think the big picture. Something that's come to my attention recently is I think about my role at the museum, the assets of the museum. We have a tremendous amount of space. We need a lot of space. One thing I'd just like to throw out for consideration, whether long-term or short-term, this conversation emerged with another school district, and being in town government, suitable conversation right here. The Peacock Museum has about 60,000 square feet of available space that could be designated as a school space. We can house 12 to 15 classrooms. We have labs. We have performance auditorium with about 327 seats. We have access to the pool, sports courts, fields. We have exhibits, world-class exhibits. We have a cafeteria that can fit hundreds and hundreds of kids. We have libraries. We have office space. We have security. We have a range of different available types of spaces. Tyler's point on what matters to kids in the future. We prioritize cultural competence at the museum. We work and think about global citizens for the future. We have a state-of-the-art facility. We have internship opportunities, architectural benefits. This is a state-of-the-art green facility. We have an award-winning green roof. We're ADA compliant. We have science labs. We can have a school set up in place by August 2016. It may buy you some time. It could be now, it could be later. I think taxpayers might appreciate the consideration of this. There are a lot of academic benefits to this. I forgot to mention we also have climate-controlled space, so the heating and cooling issues of summer and winter are something that would be disruptive to students or to the faculty. And I think a triple net lease would be something far more reasonable than a $21 million bill. So, all I have to say, I'm happy to talk a little bit more extensively about that. The tribe and I put together a team of legal, financial, and tribal council members that are willing to work with communities in terms of this type of lease, looking at different laws, think that there are federal grants and monies that can be available to the town and the tribe for a partnership like this. A short drive, just go to the border, but actually I'll consider that.
Thanks, Jason. If I could just comment on those comments. So this isn't actually Jason approached us, so this isn't the first time I heard about this idea, and actually our committee did weigh this option as we weighed 3 other options on the middle high school and 2 other options on the elementary school. And just a couple reasons why we didn't opt to go with this option. You know, the arrangement proposed was sharing a lot of spaces, a lot of shared spaces. So we had really concerns about security, spaces being inadequate in public areas that would be open to other people rather than students and faculty. The gym facilities in the building, there's a lot of places that aren't in the direct vicinity of where the classrooms would be, so it would be lengthy travel to different facilities for instructional time would be reduced, security would be reduced, and we were concerned about that. The museum required control of scheduling of shared spaces like the auditorium, the gyms. We would have to go through them to get, and they were certainly willing to work with us, however, they would have the control of that. So that was a problem for us as a committee to, you know, relinquish that control. We would have kind of the second billing, which isn't appropriate for our kids. The property is located on tribal lands and thus subject to tribal jurisdiction, which would probably be a concern to many parents. And most importantly, the property's in Ledyard. And we already, as an ad hoc committee and a board of education, had decided that we aren't going to send our kids out of district. So it's in Ledyard, so that would be out of district. So then we have to move away from this proposal as something that we would even look at. But I do want to let you know, if you haven't already been able to tell, I've probably been putting in close to 40 hours a week on this project as a volunteer, and I put more than a full day of time into looking into this option, talked about it with the committee, and ultimately the committee, Board of Education, you know, I talked with Bob, I talked with Mark a little bit about it. It's not a direction we want to go in, so that's kind of what the decision of the committee was there. So thank you for those comments. Yes?
On that point that, yeah, here we got some of the schools. I'm sure when this school is built, the same thing was said. It's important. It's important for our community, for our kids. But the other thing that's important is black and white. And there's a lot of people in town that aren't fixing incomes. I believe that people on fixed incomes are going to be hurt the worst. They can have all the statistics they want, say it's good for them to go into debt or whatever. But I'll tell you, I've been in debt. I don't want to go into debt. 46% prepaid rate for the state. I wouldn't trust that because we got businesses coming out of state. So the state, I think, are reneging on a lot of that thing. I think what it's going to come down to is a black and white figure, and it's going to come down to even if it's a ballpark mill rate that somehow you can come up with. I don't know. You got to the Board of Finance. That's a tough job to figure that out. But we have the EMS program coming. We got that's a barn. Building the barn is going to be horses coming up to put in there. They're going to be bigger than the horses we got now. So it's going to be more and more and more every year. Now, when you take a fixed income, you stop pulling the dollars out of a person's pocket. Okay, I'm just trying to make a point here because he doesn't get it back in there. And if you're on Social Security, federal government gets involved. Well, they got a big zero. They didn't think seniors needed anything. Now, the people that want the schools, they have the kids in. I agree. I understand where you're coming from. I had kids. But the thing is, you got to remember, most of the people that have kids in school are working. They're going to either get a raise this year or maybe a bonus or whatever that company they work for gives them. So I'm saying, I think you got to come up with more black and white figures for everybody because that's what it's going to come down to. And I would like to see, I don't know, maybe you have already contacted our state representatives push them a little harder, because I know down in Bridgeport and down in New Haven and all them, the state gave them a lot of money to fix their schools because they were really low down.
I think that's a really good point, Brian. I don't think we have pushed hard enough on the state representatives for aid. I know that the EMS complex was successful in getting some funds for that project. Listen, Diana is from this town. She knows what we've been struggling with, and this has been a long time for our project. And we're being recorded and broadcasted, and I would call on her to help us out. I have sent her an email. So I'll make a better effort as a chairman of the committee to try to reach out to her. And your comments are heard. Your comments are heard. I understand where you're coming from. I don't want people to have to deal with a tax increase of this size. And I hear you. But I mean, unfortunately the pipers come. I mean, we have to pay for our schools. So, what I can tell you is what I've said a few times already. And I can't tell you in specifics because we haven't had those meetings yet. But some of the numbers I'm hearing with the alternative construction methods we're talking about are much lower. I mean, I'm really hoping to come back to you guys next month, and even after the hearing, or even potentially before the hearings, when we go to these hearings and say we have a much lower number. But we're conservative here. We don't want to be in a situation where we're underquoting. We have very good numbers in reserves. We want to be realistic with it, and that's where it's at right now. So I hear you. We're working hard on it, and your comments are heard.
I didn't mean that to be directly at you.
Oh, I understand. No, I appreciate it.
What I'm saying is, maybe our selectmen can get a hold of them, so maybe they got more power to push it. I don't know. Maybe the whole tri-board's got to go up there and bang on the door up there. I don't know. But I'm just saying, it seems like the state gives money out to people with a squeaky wheel. It's really, I mean.
I know there's a formula.
I don't know if any of these are unfunded mandates or not, but that really gripes me to no end, because it's easy to sit back and say, oh yeah, we want schools to have this, and we're not going to give you any money.
Right.
That's why I say, I'd be willing to go up there too.
You're the best one to bring, so we'll look you up on that one. Yes.
I have a question. I know they were talking about there being soccer field wasn't going to get interrupted or maybe be moved to the farm. I just want to make sure, you guys take into consideration lighting the soccer field so we can actually use them at night. Also the playgrounds and track.
Yes.
We're not only looking at what's right in the classroom, but also outside the classroom.
So we are definitely not looking at any of those things. They're not part of this plan. However, it's something that we probably need to talk a little bit more about. And, I will say, now that we're kind of honing in on things, and I'm really happy to see members of the Permanent School Building Committee here, they have funds that they are allocated every year. Probably not enough. They probably need more. But we're hoping that maybe as we kind of figure out, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what our reimbursements are going to come to, maybe we can work with them to reallocate some of the funds on projects they were thinking about doing towards maybe something like that. So conversations we definitely have to have. I'm really glad that you brought it up. I will say also, when we did start the process, it was a question that I asked about the fields, because the fields do have issues beyond what you're describing, and I was kind of told that wasn't really what we needed to focus on as a committee. But
I hate to see us build all of this stuff and then there not be anything for the kids on the outside, right? I mean, physical ed, phys ed is important. We need our playgrounds to be all accessible. Oh, we don't have playgrounds. We've been trying to put playgrounds in, and 1 minute we have the funds, next minute it's taken away. So I'm gonna see that that's taken into consideration.
we appreciate those comments. We'll definitely bring them back to our committee. Yes. Yes, I think the picture kind of makes the cafeteria look smaller than it is. We're going to allow for are you talking about at both schools or?
Question
Yes. The question. Thank you, Mike. The question is the cafeteria going to be big enough? Because it looks a little bit small, and that's been an issue in the past. And so the cafeterias will be big enough. In fact, at the elementary school, whether I tried to make this point, but just so you know, the cafeteria is also the multi-purpose room and is also the gym. So they share that space for many different things. What happens is they get their own cafeteria, and I think we're figuring on three lunch waves in the cafeteria for the elementary school, which is adequate for the elementary school. And again, we've talked to the faculty and the administrators about that. And I think at the high school, we think also 3 lunch waves there. So they're not going to have to eat at 10 in the morning, I don't think. Although the high school kids go to school early, so they do actually eat lunch earlier. Then, I don't know if it's at 10 in the morning. And I also, our committee wasn't tasked with figuring out scheduling and whatnot, but we have adequate facilities for happy, fed kids in this project. Yeah, you're right. It's another inadequacy of our schools. Brian?
You got a cafeteria in the proposed senior building, right? You got one in you got that one.
Yeah.
That school doesn't need to be built quite a ways from the kitchen.
Well, that's, what is it, 100 yards? So it's 100 yards-ish from the elementary to the new middle high school. They will transport the food in warming containers, and we'll have a warming kitchen in the cafeteria. Very common. Other schools do it. It won't be an issue. So I've been told. Yes, sir.
Could you tell me how the deed restriction reads? I know it's restricted education, but is it only for Stonington education or really any education?
So the question is, for those who, I think I touched on it a little bit, this property has a deed restriction. This property that this school sits on is owned by the Wheeler Library, holds the deed for this property. Back in the day, Wheelers gifted this land, and now the library holds the deed. So the deed restriction reads that it should be used for secondary education. Now, this being said, we have already reached out to the Wheeler Library Board. We've talked to their chairman. They are more than willing to work with us on what's going to work best for the kids. They have the big picture, and the reason the property was given is for the kids to be able to have a good education in this town. So we all are on the same page with trying to work for what's best for the kids. So it does read secondary education. However, I don't think that they would be out of the realm of working with us if there was another use potentially for the property that made sense. We're not going to put a Walmart in here. I mean, we're not talking about anything like that, but this is common sense, and we're taking a common sense approach with it.
Sensitized to the issue, has the Attorney General been approached on that? And we approved new change to the chair of the bill by the Attorney General and then done the Superior Court. I don't know what that's like, but it sounds like everybody's cooperating to get there. Has anybody reached out to the agency?
Yeah, so I think the big thing is what you said at the end there. Everybody's cooperating. So we all have the best interests of the kids in mind. We have a great committee. They have a great committee. There's not going to be an issue. To answer your question, I don't think anybody's reached out to the Attorney General at this point. But certainly if that's the direction that we have to go in, then we'll do it. And I know that they would say the same thing if any representatives were here. So, yes. You mean go to like the cemetery and try to talk to them, or? Oh, that was a joke, Brian. Descendants, right? We got a lot of cemeteries in this town too, I hear. Yeah, the kids.
I just want to say it's a trust, which is an ongoing living trust, and there's a board that oversees it. And any changes that would have to be that would be proposed would have to go to the board trustees for approval. And then, of course, it probably would have to go to the Attorney General's office. Yeah. But generally, when you have consenting parties on things where there's an agreement on it, and it says for secondary education, it doesn't say for North Stonington kids. It just says for secondary education, so.
Yeah. So again, I feel pretty confident about our communication.
Well, I remember thought years ago, well, I haven't seen the deed, I haven't seen anything that they posed when they gave the land. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people that used to live here, and they still do, some of them. They said in that deed, it said if it's not used for schools, then it reverts back to, yeah. So that's why I say, I think it's only a courtesy, if anything, if there's any of them alive, I'm not sure, I'm sure there are. Just to see if they got any input on it, I think it'd be important. Need to
Sure. I see Gary might want to comment on this from the back of the room there.
There is no, Gary, and there is no reverter clause. With review of legal,
So that's Gary, who's the president of the Wheeler Library Board. Just happened to walk in. Glad you're here, Gary.
thank you, Gary.
So again, you can see we have a great working relationship, and everybody's looking out. We all just want the best for the kids. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You know, you do too.
I don't want us all tangled up in a legal.
No, there'll be no.
One more thing that might help. The land was actually given to the Board of Education from the Wheeler Library, school and library. Mid-1940s, I believe, when the Wheeler Library school and library had closed. We had sent the kids to Stonington, and the town decided to bring them back. And at that time, the school and library deeded the land to Board of Education for use in secondary education. So it's sort of like we're repeating history. Back to you.
Thanks, Gary. We'll all work together. Great community effort. Other comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Safety issue, I think is, that nobody's touched on that I haven't heard of. Lighting around the gym parking lot. Is there anything to update that? I spend a lot of time in and out of there, time of night, pick the kids up. Really poor lighting around. Is that gonna be updated?
Why should we just update it?
Got the,
We got an answer over here.
did it 2 weeks ago.
Just got done, I
Take
guess.
a look as you walk out. The whole place is lit, around back and everything. The part, like where the seniors park during the day, back where the. Go take a look at the lights, just drive through there. Quite proud of them. Okay.
So you can see we're already working hard for you. Mark, back to you.
Right, I think it's probably appropriate
job,
that we just get back with the tri-boards here for a few minutes. We're approaching our the witching hour here, so a lot of good conversation tonight, a lot of good questions. I think it shows the ad hoc committee is soliciting input and considering feedback as they continue to work on this recommendation to the tri-boards. Again, the intent was that the ad hoc committee would come up with a recommendation and ultimately present it to the Board of Ed, who's got to make the initial decision and start the process. Towards that end, the ad hoc committee has asked for guidance on getting to the next step of going to public hearings and broadening the presentation and getting more input. Any feedback from the boards regarding that request? Are you comfortable with continuing to move along those lines, Emil?
I've heard a rumor that this Saturday there is no, wrong committee, I'm sorry. But you might want to announce that anyway.
There is a public hearing scheduled for Saturday morning, weather permitting, I assume. So
At 9 o'clock,
At
weather will permit.
9 o'clock
It's
it
gonna
is.
be fine.
So that's a different
9 o'clock.
subject. So
That's in the 9 o'clock Saturday in the middle school cafeteria. And please join us.
But for the EMS.
So the subject is for the emergency services building. So plenty of issues and topics in the town to talk about as we try to formulate our strategic vision of what the town is going to look like over the next couple of decades. Bob?
I think the tri-board should go ahead and move to let them start doing some public hearings. I think they've done a great job. Not so much more we can hear as a tri-board, I think, at this point. I think it's important to get the message out to the rest of the town. So if
Yeah,
they feel comfortable, I feel comfortable.
that doesn't preclude us from, making more adjustments as we get more feedback, but
I think after they have their meetings, then we should still meet as a tri-board to
Mhm.
discuss how those went.
yeah, time-wise, if you recall the timeline that we looked at last summer, we wanted to try to get to the Board of Education by the first week of April to allow sufficient time for the whole referendum process if we choose to go that way, and then get the package together to submit to the state and meet the June 30th deadline for this year's consideration. If it's deemed that we're not going to go this year, then that sets the clock for another year, and then it kind of throws a lot of additional factors into the cost estimates that we'd have to reconsider. So it seems like it's late January now. We've got a couple months. We have time to get to the public, do our due diligence, get input, reconsider, go again for another public hearing, and then the committee can formulate all that into a final recommendation to the Board of Education. Any other thoughts? Any other information that the tri-boards feel that they want addressed or presented or researched? I mean, I'm sure we haven't answered all the questions, but I think we can all agree that the committee has covered a lot of territory and is really trying a very good faith effort to address everybody's questions and concerns. Okay, it sounds like offhand the committee can start thinking about setting up their public hearings. I'd recommend the Board of Selectmen have to look at that if we have time on our agenda. Consider when's a good time frame for scheduling the hearings. Getting close to budget season, so that complicates meeting schedules and everything, but we'll try to work that in. Bob?
If the tri-board stays on the same schedule, we'd be meeting on Thursday, the 25th of February.
We're doing fourth Thursday, fourth Thursday.
At what time?
7 o'clock.
Just verify.
It seems appropriate that we want to get back together for the Thursday next month. Is that agreeable to all the boards? That would give us a chance to get some consolidation of comments from the public hearings by that time, and we could talk some more. So if that was true, then that would be February 25th, Thursday evening, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can we try for this room again, Robbie? Robbie's already got it done. She's ahead of us. So. It's very accommodating of them. So.
But as far as the public hearings, we have no definite date or?
No definite. Selectmen will have to make a recommendation. It's been suggested 2 hearings, one for the 8th and one for the 13th of February. So that would give us an opportunity to do like an evening public hearing for folks that are more available then, and another public hearing on a Saturday morning for other folks that can't make an evening hearing. Try to get a better cross-section as we solicit input. Okay, any other comments or general discussion from the tri-boards on the material presented or additional thoughts or concerns we want to address going forward? Not seeing any. Any additional public comments, questions? Yes, ma'am. Every year, right? Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We'll see you next month, and please make time in your schedules for the public hearings.
seem to be repeating themselves a bit, which is about time to go public.
Do you think they'll ever pass?